Hey everybody, Larry Mullins here, 1010 Wins, and this is another Black History Month profile on 1010 Wins and 1010wins.com. I got a neat guest here today, but let me tell you, we kind of ended up on this in a weird sort of way. It reminded me of my grandson, TJ. We're always talking about him wanting, all kinds of toys and Game Boys and PS2, game stations and all of this and that, and PlayStations. I'm dating myself. And I always tell him, go and make you one if you want. Damn, go make one. And I thought about it, and then all of a sudden, my executive producer, Sharon Barnes-Waters, goes, you know what? I'll do something with STEM. The science, technology, engineering, and math or whatever. I'm like, well, TJ's 6, and I don't know if he's old enough, to get into that yet. But I got to researching it a little bit, folks, and I looked and I saw where only 9% of African Americans are in the STEM, field, in that technology, in that space. But then I looked, and it showed where, from a consumer standpoint, African-American buyers represent a whole suitcase satchel full of folks that participate in it, or that, that buy it, that consume it. So I'm thinking, well, wait a minute, something's not wrong. What had happened? Where is everybody? When you think in terms of people who patronize a certain profession or product, why aren't we making it? Well, we got to thinking, and that's when Sharon said, well, we got somebody who's doing something about closing that space. And she says, as a matter of fact, the individual is a basketball star. I'm like, well, who are we talking about here? Is it Bernard King? Is it Steph Marbury? Is it Hakeem? Who are all of these people? LeBron says, no. She's a New York person. And she said, I said, folks, I'm sitting with royalty today. It gives me honor to introduce to you, and we'll talk about the STEM thing in a minute, but I told her I'm a fanboy. The amazing Niesha Butler, WNBA star, who still holds the record, by the way, in New York City as the scoringest individual, even over, who was the other, Lou Alcindor, a.k.a. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Yes.
This sister right here, bad to the bone, WNBA star and all of that. Welcome.
Thank you. Wow.
I'm still trying to figure out, okay, so how did we go from basketball to the technology field?
Parents,
okay.
Caribbean parents.
Okay, I want to get into that in a moment, but I got to talk about basketball just a little bit.
Sure.
New York Liberty, point guard back in the day. You have to be at awe at what they recently did a few months ago, winning that championship. And I always saw you as a founding member, because you with that little bad group that came through there in the first round. That put it together. Your thoughts, seeing that they broke this thing?
No, we're women's
What'd she
sports
say? I
in
heard
general.
that. I didn't miss that. She said second. Don't be dating me, calling me second. Go ahead.
No, I think where the women's game is going right now, I love it, and I think as a pioneer of the game early on, it's something that we support, and they deserve it. We've been in the game for a while, and I'm really happy for the women to have recognition. So I'm a fangirl for them now. They're killing it. So
Man,
I love
you set
it.
the tone, though. Georgia Tech, Naismith, the whole 9 yards.
Thank you.
You miss it?
My knees don't.
Yeah.
No, of course it's a love. It's my first love.
Yeah.
So of course it's gonna always be with me, and I'm gonna love it. But I'd like to see the younger generation take it over, and I'm really proud.
It's headed in the right direction, though.
Exactly.
With what we're seeing.
Exactly.
So that's a good thing.
Yeah.
So let's talk about STEM, and we call it STEM: science, technology, engineering, and math. Sister girl added art to it, and she has made an art of it with the STEAM CHAMPS.
Exactly.
That's taking place over in Brooklyn. I keep calling it an academy. I always think of it in those terms.
Educational center.
Tell us more about that now. Where did that come from? You mentioned your parents got you involved in that somehow. What was that about?
Well, initially, when I was growing up, we didn't have a pro league. It just started, and I think the way was to get a college scholarship, mainly. In engineering, my mom was a nurse and my dad's a pharmacist, so they wanted me to be a surgeon. I don't like blood too much, so it was more along the lines of how do we support her interests off the court, because on the court, we already knew it was limited. And for a young woman growing up, the confidence, the support that sports gives, my parents definitely pushed that, but academics was always first. So it's just what I had to do.
Big time math person in school?
Yeah, I loved it. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Can we make a record of this? I don't know anybody who loved math. I'm like, I can't wait to get to school to take math. Niesha, really?
I loved it. Yeah, actually, it's finite as concrete, and you know what you're gonna get. So yeah, I loved it.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And so from that, you decided a couple of years now that STEAM Champs was the way to go, and now you're educating others.
Well, quite frankly, I think, when you're a professional athlete or you get a scholarship, all your friends are professional athletes or have a scholarship. So I got jaded, but the actual numbers are less than 1% of kids who play sports actually are a professional athlete. And I think in our community specifically, that is doing a disservice to the kids, because if you are wishing and training since 8, 9 years old to be something that you have a 99% failure rate, we wonder why, they're at 25 or 35, which is very young, you have no job opportunities. So when graduating for Georgia Tech and there were so many engineers, I recognized that out of college, 99% of my friends who were engineers had jobs, well-paying jobs. However, it wasn't in the representation that I felt that was needed. So I decided to do something about it.
What was the sweat equity like going into that? I mean, you must have looked at that and said, you know what? We need to get more, people of color, in the field.
Right.
What's it going to take? I mean, because I understand you went into places where kids didn't even have computers
Exactly.
that worked.
Exactly.
And all of that. Talk about the uphills.
Yeah, I mean, it's an uphill battle. I think it's worth it, because I think that, my real passion is to change the narrative in our community of what it means to go pro. There's a pipeline for sports, and it goes directly, to the LeBron James level, Steph Curry level. However, LeBron James has been playing for like 20 years. That job is not going anywhere. But right now, in New York City alone, there's about 100,000 jobs. New York State, 100,000 jobs open, making $150,000 a year. Well, why are we not having a pipeline, especially when 78% of New York City public school kids are under the poverty line?
Okay.
Why is there not a pipeline created for them?
So you put it out there, answer that.
Exactly.
Why has there not been?
Right, I think
the access, to
I
children.
mean, there's a lot of reasons. It's a multi-pronged problem, but it goes down to access. It goes down to costs, because technology is not like, a $10, $15 basketball, right? Like, you have to have a computer, Wi-Fi, robots, and technology research changes every 3 to 4 years. So typically speaking, we are not in a position to actually take full advantage of that. However, I was lucky to go to a private school and I got exposed to it early. And I recognize my luck in that, but it really wasn't easy access for like any of my teammates at the Gauchos when I was playing. So it's just a difference. I think it starts from the community. Parents need to really expose kids to stuff, even if they feel uncomfortable with the subject. In addition to, when I was like, I want to have a STEAM center in the middle of Brooklyn. People were like, But there wasn't a STEAM center in the middle of Brooklyn.
So you put one there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and the kids are, I mean, I'm amazed, really. They can do the work. They just need exposure and support. So.
Where did the art part come from? STEAM as opposed to just STEM?
Well, we run culture. So I think I really like to meet kids where they are. And I also believe that in engineering, you should be creative. You should be, your mind should explore, and you should have a lot of things. I think art is a way to do that. It's subjective, it's expressive, and I think it's a way to have a well-rounded individual.
Yeah. And that space touches about every single aspect of our lives when we talk about engineering and science, technology. I talked about the games, but I would imagine makeup, what we eat, all types of things go into that.
Exactly.
And is that the pitch that we present to the kids to make it sexy to them?
Yeah. So the kids, what we found to make it sexy is actually amplifying it, which is something that what glitters and golds for kids, right? But also what I find when I'm talking to kids, they don't recognize that like the richest black man in America is an engineer, right? Robert Smith is an engineer. They don't know that. Understanding that they don't have to be necessarily a software engineer, mechanical, electrical, aeronautical, industrial. So I think the idea is to expose them and let them run with it. But you'd be surprised that an 8-year-old, I've met several 8-year-olds in certain communities that actually limit themselves, and they're only 8. Well, it's very troubling. Whether it's the teachers in school, whether it's they're not supporting the community, we really have to take that by the horns, because these kids are 8 years old. The world should be their oyster. They should be able to explore and dream. But that's not happening right now.
I mentioned my 6-year-old grandson. Oh, he's a big boy now. He's 7. Just turned 7. Too young?
No. Is he young enough to play basketball? Yes. And he's young enough to learn about STEM.
Okay.
Yeah, because I think parents, so what happens is if you start late, it's a problem. The learning curve is steeper. But if you're younger, kids are on iPads right now at 5 years old.
Yeah.
If they can manipulate and figure out a way to get YouTube and replay and turn around and film themselves, they can learn the basic principles of STEM and like coding and robotics.
And how to
artificial,
make it, yeah.
artificial intelligence right now is big. So they can do a lot of things.
So there is hope. TJ, if you're watching this, brother, you're going to get a job. We're going to put you out.
At 6.
And take your
7.
3-year-old sister with you. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So where do you find these children? I mean, do you go into regular schools, public school, private schools, and say, hey, you fit the criteria.
Right.
You know, you need to perhaps take part in the STEAM program. Ever consider it? You know?
Right. So I really run our STEAM Center like a basketball team in a sense that everybody can come, try out, and then I think that they shine. You know, you have those kids that pick up things really quickly. They just need to be in a position to try to figure out puzzles, understand thinking, computational thinking is big. So I think it's a matter of them coming in, trying it out. There's a lot of different things. Robotics is different from coding. Coding is different from engineering.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we have an Adventures Lab that we're gonna roll out next year. So the kids love drones. You know what I mean? So I think it's you come in and you inspire them to do some stuff and they get exposure.
Mm-hmm.
And kids automatically they'll show you what they like and what they have an interest in.
And the parents have to get them there, though. And Niesha, I guess, those are the kids, and they're inquisitive and all those other good things. Do we screw it up as adults that we don't get those babies to the STEAM champ? I mean, to the academy?
It's really important. The parents, the kids really need support. So we see a lot of dads take their kids because I guess more engineers have their kids do engineering things. And I do see specific communities that we have an abundance of. And specifically, Black and Latinos are not represented a lot in my center. Hence why I'm being proactive about going to public schools. I'm working with District 9 in the South Bronx with CS55, a principal out there that really is a proponent of STEM. So, sometimes it takes the parents, the PTAs, the principals in certain areas that just have a spark to push the principals to put it in the schools. But quite frankly, it is a push in certain communities to do it, whereas some, they're banging down my door to have their kids in. So.
I can imagine it takes a push, too, on part of the business community, the STEM community, to get involved, to assist with that.
Right.
This stuff isn't cheap.
Exactly.
When you talk about equipment and laptops and things of that nature or whatever, how do you recruit and how is that part of it going? You've been in 2 years? Did you say 3?
2 years.
Okay.
Yeah,
how's that part of it going?
Well, actually, Microsoft has helped with providing computers, supporting kids and scholarships. I think big companies that have a lot of profits and want to do things for the community, there are ways to help specifically on the ground, boots on the ground, with programs like mine or similarly. You're right. I mean, scholarships are important. You do really, and we have ample. We really try to do that for the community. However, I really encourage big companies, especially tech companies, to get behind communities by supporting young kids early, right? So by the time they're, 4% of all college majors are in computer science, and of that 4% is a dismal percent of that represented by women or people of color. So
wow.
I encourage, big companies, Amazon, Target, Microsoft, to continue to help, because it's needed.
And at a time when they're saying, when you look at the global picture, that America, there's a disproportionate lack, if you will, of American children, students, people, whatever, adults who are in that, in that space. And it's time for us to catch up.
Right.
And here you are, a catch-up agent, basically.
Catch-up agent. Yeah, I mean, this is an American problem, right? I mean, 4% of all majors are computer science with all children. So, I think, we really have to understand that tech is now, and in order for us to keep up
tech
with
was
it,
now 10 years ago.
That is true. It's just about, understanding that tech doesn't always mean like one singular focus, right? There's so many different avenues where even in sports, right now everything is being, digitized. Everything is being on the web right now. I mean, there's so many ways that you can engage in tech that doesn't necessarily specifically fit one narrow view of it. So we just have to make kids understand that, and study it. So.
Brooklyn now, what's next? Going to take over the world?
Take over the world, I think.
Locations, places, or where?
Well, obviously, I think I want to empower the next generation of engineering, but I also want to empower the next generation of educators. And also in our community, I think it's very important for people who have a message and people who can. I really feel comfortable that 90 or more % of the kids that go through my center will go pro, and that's what it's all about. I want to give back to the community in a sense that I made a real difference, and that's the goal.
S.T.E.A.M champs. Wow.
Yeah.
Your legacy, basketball or S.T.E.A.M?
I would like the "and" to be in there. So I think I cemented my legacy already with basketball, and that's done. I think for me, but I think that's a more singular focus, right? Well, actually, no. I think we help the girls do a lot of things what they do now. So I appreciate it and I love it. However, we're humans, and I think if we can find a common goal that we all want, but I'm giving back to people, right? And I think that is something that I would like my legacy to go. If I changed one life, that had was born in generational poverty, but decided to be an engineer and didn't, I would be eternally happy. If someone said they wanted to be a Niesha Butler as a software engineer, I'd be very happy.
I saw a baby on a video with you. Somebody did on you recently, who says, "I want to be a scientist. I want to build stuff." He says, "But I also want to play basketball. I want to go to the moon. I want to cook. I want to be an artist." I'm like, my goodness, boy. You going to be able to pull all of that off?
I remember that kid. And a pizza maker, he said.
7 years old, I think.
Yeah. So I remember that interview, actually. That's the whole point. The fact that there was a scientist and an engineer, a part of that young boy's dream. That's what it's all about. My thing is, when you have a kid, sure, if they want to be an athlete, great. But I don't want that to be their singular focus, especially since it's one NBA, one NFL. Yeah. The jobs are only 24 teams. Let them dream, right? Yeah. And let's support them.
What do you see in 10 years with this?
With what? With us?
With S.T.E.A.M.
I would like.
Or what do you visualize 10 years, S.T.E.A.M?
So I believe in team. And right now, my team is growing, and I would like to have more STEM advocates around the world. There are a lot of places that I see tremendous growth, tremendous potential, especially in South Africa, North Africa. I mean, there's just a lot of potential in Caribbean nations as well. So I think that if we can focus. And instead of putting a lot of sports teams, or in addition to, we have STEM centers, STEM learning centers, where we can equip people in certain areas to bring this forth. I think it's weird that we only have few tech companies and one particular person at the top controlling everything, and that's dangerous. Yeah. So in 10 years, I hope we just have a diverse amount of people with skills necessary to change and be representative in different fields.
Well, you're going to be that change agent, and we appreciate all that you do.
Thank you.
Give me a feel-good story to wrap this thing up. Give me an example of somebody who, and I know you're in your infancy, 2 years,
right?
That came through, and you saw this baby who was like, whatever, and now that kid is like a rocket. Share with us.
We've had a lot.
You're going to say all of them?
No. We have interns. So I open it up with the arts. The interns, we have interns, it's more specifically, and she's one on these videos, she said she was going to go in and major in marketing. And she's now a sophomore at Clark, about to transfer to Georgia Tech, and she's majoring in computer science. Her name is Jemiah Evans, and I remember that because she was like, "Oh, this first year she is hard for everybody." But I'm actually really proud of that. After one summer of her working with me, I think we need to be real specific about what we want kids to do. I was like, no, you need to change your major, and you need to change it to computer science, and she did, and she's doing so well. So I love that.
Let me just say, Jemiah girl. You better knock them through the park.
Yeah, it's great. She's doing really, really well.
Anybody who wants to help out, wants to participate, wants to donate, provide computer services, a little bit of brain power or whatever, how can they contact STEAM?
STEAMchamps.com, info@steamchamps.com, where I'm always available in the community. I'm around, but however, you can always reach us through our website, the contact form. I read everything. Founders, we read along with my assistant. We read everything and we see all the emails. So, but in addition to that, I really just hope that anyone who's listening that is supportive of a kid, especially in New York City with sports, Add the STEM components. We are going to be next summer having a tech and basketball event. We're 1 hour of coding, of robotics, 1 hour of basketball. I just encourage parents to encourage them to do Roblox, Minecraft, be gamers. Like I think they need to hear it and they need to be supported by the community.
And 1010 Wins and 1010wins.com, I will tell you, will do our part in promoting that and letting everybody know and reminding them of that in the summertime when that comes up. You're doing a fabulous work.
Thank you.
You know, the point God is, what's weird to me is I'm sitting here talking to, you know, honestly, arguably one of the biggest stars, I think, in the WNBA, and you didn't go into coaching. You didn't go and buy up all of the teams in the NBA. You decided to give back to the community. And there are others who give back.
Right.
But to do it in this way, I asked you prior to this, you know, are you still working with the Atlanta Hawks as a play-by-play? Are you doing? You said, I don't have time.
Yeah,
Because you're so busy doing this. We are so proud of what you're doing.
Thank you.
And we appreciate that.
Thank you.
Niesha Butler, everybody, the point goddess of New York and beyond.
Thank you.
S.T.E.A.M. champs, like that. That'll do it for this edition of Black History Month Profiles. I'm Larry Mullins. Check you on the radio on 1010 Wins and 1010wins.com.